everyone, and welcome to another episode of Today in Chess. The 2024 Summer of Chess has been truly amazing. So much incredible competition has taken place over the last few months. There's no doubt August 2024 will be remembered as the St. Louis Month of Chess. Many of the world's top players competed in various time controls to create many memorable and soon-to-be classic games.
Elite players from around the globe return to the American chess capital for the penultimate event of the world's premier chess tour, the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. Punches were traded early and often, with MVL taking an early lead, but he was promptly supplanted, having to claw his way back into contention before joining the two other frontrunners for co-lead following the rapid section. But frontrunners can quickly become afterthoughts once the clocks speed up and the blitz specialists kick it into high gear. Speed demon Alireza Firouzja was more than prepared for his moment, reeling off win after win to amass an impressive lead going into the final day of blitz. Despite an incredible showing from Wesley So, it was just too much to catch the French superstar who earned his second St. Louis Rapid and Blitz title. Another successful event means that it's time for the final classical battle of this year's illustrious tour, the Sinkfield Cup, where tour players will be joined by the reigning world champion in an epic conclusion as we crown the 2024 Grand Chess Tour champion. The 2024 Grand Chess Tour hit the ground running with the Superbet Rapid and Blitz Poland in historic Warsaw. Full tour players faced off against an illustrious group of wildcards determined to steal the spotlight. Chinese superstar Wei Yi could not be stopped in the rapid section, but no lead is safe when the ultimate wildcard Magnus Carlsen is in the field. Within 4 rounds of blitz, he surpassed the leader to win the 2024 Superbet Rapid and Blitz Poland. With one tournament in the books, players traveled to Bucharest for the tour's first classical event, the 2024 Superbet Romania Chess Classic. Reigning GCT champ and 2023 Superbet Chess Classic winner Fabiano Caruana controlled his own destiny going into the final round, but an unfortunate misstep led to a dramatic 4-way playoff. Ultimately, it cost him precious GCT points, but Caruana was victorious, sweeping the playoff field to become back-to-back champion. After an incredible event in Romania, players shifted their focus to a new city and a faster time control for the Super United Rapid and Blitz Croatia. Once settled in Zagreb, Fabiano Caruana kept his streak going, destroying the rapid section, giving him a significant leg up going into the blitz. After a rocky start, he quickly regained his composure and never looked back, clinching the title with 5 rounds to go, tying the GCT record for most points earned in a single event in the process. Following 3 excellent European events, players turned to the American chess capital for the final 2 events of the world's premier chess tour, starting off with the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. Perfectly positioned in a 3-way tie for first after an impressive performance in the rapid section, Alireza Firouzja was ready for blitz, reeling off win after win to amass an impressive lead that could not be caught, earning the French superstar his second St. Louis Rapid and Blitz trophy and clear first in the GCT standings. It all came down to the final classical battle of this year's illustrious tour, the Sinkfield Cup. Fabiano Caruana could claim the GCT title as long as he outpaced his rival, but unfortunately for him, Alireza Firouzja took the lead early and remained there throughout, clinching the 2024 GCT crown in the penultimate round, taking the cup with a victory in his final game, winning both St. Louis events to become a 2-time Grand Chess Tour champion. As this year's tour comes to a close, we look to the future and all the amazing cities, locations, elite grandmasters, and world-class chess in store on the 2025 Grand Chess Tour.
Wow, what a summer it's been. Chess fans across the world have seen some outstanding games. And speaking of exciting, recently we had a visit from Boris Spassky Jr. For those of you unfamiliar with his father and namesake, Boris Spassky is a legend in chess. It was he who played Bobby Fischer in arguably the most famous World Championship match of all time. Bobby Fischer's victory changed chess forever. We recently had a chance to sit down with Boris Spassky Jr.
I grew up in France, where I was born in 1980, 5 years after my father emigrated to France. I would describe him as a very laid-back person, with a very good sense of humor, not taking himself seriously. He was laughing at himself and never taking himself for someone famous or important. In the former Soviet Union, people don't realize, but when he built a house in France, he lived in a communalka. He grew up in very tough conditions, where hunger was a true problem. He had really bad recollections of soldiers' regiments in the metro crushing his bare feet because he had no shoes. And when he came to France, he built a cottage with toilets at every level. So I think you understand where it comes from, because in a communalka, you live at 7, 8 families in one apartment, and you have one bathroom for everyone. At the age of 5, he was evacuated in Perm in an orphanage when the Nazis besieged Leningrad. His family must have stayed in the city. There was order of Stalin that all adults would combat. He was evacuated. He kind of learned how to play chess. And at the age of 11, he always told me, at the age of 11, I got a stipend. And then my family could live off this stipend because their father had abandoned them. So he was with Georgi and Iraida, my aunt, and they lived at the entrance of the communalka. So it was a hard life. The role he played in a 1972 chess match, he always thought of it as a chess player, because all the fuss around it, political, geostrategic, he never mentioned it, and I'm pretty sure that he felt the pressure because, of course, the Soviets were pushing. At the end, he was very much under pressure for having lost a game. They started bothering him. They never mentioned to send him to a gulag. That's I think some people have mentioned this story. I believe it's fairy tales. But following the match in 1972, down to 75, the sports committee was hard on him. They pressed him pretty much, saying that he was no longer going to be able to travel, which kind of was game over for his chess career. And he met my mother, who was working as a secretary at the commercial mission of the French embassy. They fell in love. They managed to do a bit of skating on frozen lakes. They had, I think, a beautiful romance. And then they left to France by fighting really hard with the authorities and benefiting from the Helsinki Accords, which allowed for the first time in history Soviet citizens to marry non-Soviet citizens. It's hard to imagine for us, but a Soviet citizen was not allowed to marry a non-Soviet citizen. So they did it. And so for me, 72, I've always had it presented in my family as the prequel to his escape from the Soviet Union. The stories I can share about my father and Fischer are only ones of friendship, because my father always spoke very highly of him, always called him a kind of Don Quixote, he saw him as a hero, and that's why I grew up with some very funny caricatures at home, some that he had put under glass, where Fischer is Don Quixote and my father is Sancho Panza. They became very good friends. My father always had the greatest respect for Fischer. My father benefited from the Soviet system, but he said that he was never a communist. He was never a member of the Communist Party. Fighting a game without being a communist when you represent a communist country is not an easy exercise. And he gave all credit to Bobby as an individual to have learned chess by himself without having a big machine. They played again in 1992, being very happy to play with Fischer. My father always said, yeah, I lost, and if I had not lost, maybe Bobby would have walked away, so not a bad thing that I lost.
Bobby Fischer was a chess prodigy and excelled to become the world champion and the most famous chess player of his generation. There are currently many remarkable young chess players here in America. Many of them competed in the national championships. Here's a look at some of them.
Alice Lee was first introduced to chess when the shy 6-year-old followed her older brother Lyndon to chess club at their elementary school. Now Big Brother is looking up to her as the immensely talented teenager is shooting to the top of American women's chess. Already a 3-time World Youth Champion and reigning U.S. Junior Girls Champion. At only 13 years and 7 months old, Alice became the youngest American woman ever to earn the title of International Master, eclipsing the previous record by 2.5 years. She's establishing herself as a singular threat, if not a favorite, in elite events such as the American Cup, where she placed second in back-to-back years. It's clear that her impact on the game will be felt as she continues to chase her goals and propel chess into the future. Zoe Tang's infectious smile lights up a room, but don't let her pleasant demeanor disarm you. She's got the heart of a competitor. The 16-year-old FIDE master started playing chess in her home state of Oregon, where she's the reigning back-to-back state champion and the first female title holder in Oregon's history. Zoe's also competed in elite national events, taking 7th place in her first U.S. Junior Girls Championship, improving to 4th place in her second year, and in the 2024 American Cup, where she defeated 4-time U.S. Women's Champ Anna Zatonsky. Zoe's drive and valuable experience against some of the nation's top talent guarantees she'll have a chance to be at the forefront of women's chess in America for the foreseeable future.
Learning to play chess is often a family affair. Many young players initially learn chess from their parents. As they grow in the game, learning from an experienced grandmaster can be life-changing. Luckily, we have some grandmasters available. It's time for Chess School.
Hi everyone, in this lesson I'm going to show you the few things that king cannot do. In one of the previous lessons I showed you how the king moves, and again king can move any direction 1 square. But in this position, if you take a look carefully, for example, you cannot play the move king f1 because black has a rook on f file and the rook is covering the f1 square, so you cannot walk into a check. Same example is here. If you try to move the king to d2 here, now there is another rook on d8. You cannot do that. That would be an illegal move. Another idea is if you're thinking, oh, maybe I can escape the danger by castling to the queen side, that's again, you cannot do that because the rook on d8 is covering the d file. You cannot jump through the d file in order to castle. So the castling also is not going to be a possible move in this position. So another idea is if let's say the rook is on e8 is giving you a check, you cannot castle when you're under a check. You need to block the check or move your king away or capture the piece that checked you, but you certainly cannot castle when you're under a check. So it's very important to know which moves you can play with the king, and if the squares are under control by your opponent, you cannot move your king into an attack. So these are the few things you cannot do with your king, and very important to remember. You can't castle when you're under a check, and you cannot move into a square when opponent pieces are covering it. So hope you enjoyed this lesson. See you next time.
One of the most dynamic and impactful missions of the St. Louis Chess Club is the Scholastic program. Simply said, the Chess Club has taken on the challenge of teaching chess to thousands of school-aged children, K through 12, and it's a crusade with proven rewards.
Chess has helped me in school by teaching me how to approach different problems, like in math or science.
It's a science, it's mathematics, it's an art. So I think that is one of the reasons chess should be in schools. It covers a wide range of interests for children. Or at least with my students, they become very real, like people, and the science of life and the way that they move, their weaknesses and their strengths. And they become those pieces, and they practice those moves in the game and in their lives sometimes if they can really get that takeaway, which is a goal for me.
No less than an army of coaches and instructors, as well as the digital classroom experience, has turned thousands of area students into chess players. And the results have been rewarding.
My students come back to me and they're relating chess to life and explaining to me their choices in a particular situation in their life where they used their problem-solving skills to gain the result that they wanted. And they related that to chess. And that to me is a huge fulfillment, for me even teaching the game.
Critical thinking, decision-making, sportsmanship, and respect are all positive results of these classroom experiences.
Chess is more than just a game, and it offers so much to their social emotional development, especially if we get them very young. So I think chess doing that in schools adds a great support to students and parents, so they need it.
The St. Louis Chess Club, teaching young minds the game of chess and so much more.
The World Chess Championship is the most watched event in the game. It's also the most storied of all the matches through the years. Earlier, we mentioned the 1972 tournament between Boris Spassky and Bobby Fischer. With the 2024 championship approaching, where we'll see Ding Liren and Gukesh D square off, let's take a look back at the history of this event.
Dating all the way back to 1845, the U.S. Championship is the oldest chess event in the United States. Originally a match between two players, it has been held in many formats in its nearly 180-year-old existence. Featuring some of the most famous names in chess, the U.S. Championships have seen players like Bobby Fischer, who won every U.S. championship he competed in, earning 8 titles. This includes a legendary performance in the 1963-64 championship edition, where he scored a perfect 11 from 11. An accomplishment so difficult that the St. Louis Chess Club offers a $64,000 bonus prize for any player who can match that accomplishment. Sadly, none has ever come close. Other notable champions include Sammy Reshevsky, who matched Fischer's 8 tournament wins, Walter Shawn Brown with 6 tournament wins, Gata Kamsky, Hikaru Nakamura with 5 tournament wins, and the current champion, Fabiano Caruana, with 3 titles. The U.S. Chess Championship has been held in St. Louis, Missouri since 2009, as well as streamed on YouTube for fans throughout the world to follow. It has become one of the strongest tournaments in the world, with 9 of the 12 competitors in 2023 were ranked in the top 100 players of the world. From the first championship between 2 players for a prize fund of $1,000, the U.S. Chess Championship has grown into a marquee chess event with a dozen world-class players competing for a $250,000 prize fund.
Which historical World Championship match you find the most fascinating and why?
I mean, there have been many very fascinating World Championship matches, but I think the rivalry between Kasparov and Karpov has to be at the top. I mean, they played so many times. I mean, all the matches were great, of course, so I can't really pick one out specifically, but I mean, just their whole rivalry, whether it's World Championship, whether it's playing in tournaments, I mean, they're 2 of the greatest players of all time, and sort of their generations collided there. And I think since then, we've never seen 2 people who are quite on the same level. I mean, you've had Vichy, you had Kramnik, who were relatively close, but they also weren't dominating for that long before Magnus came up. So yeah, it's just Kasparov and Karpov all the way.
There was this match, the match that Smyslov lost against Botvinnik, and I think he started with half a point out of 3, but then I think after 6 games the match was equal. So just out of the emotional impact, that's just crazy. But also I think those matches, also the match where Tal has beaten Botvinnik with playing the most absurd and crazy openings, you know, the famous Caro-Kann GTK on move number 5, absolutely logical. That, of course, is, I think it's very, very special from just a chess perspective of the things, because you saw so many emotions, yeah.
Maybe the first one, yeah, because it was played here as well, yeah, like in St. Louis, one of the parts. Maybe not this exact building, yeah, but let's think that it was somewhere around.
Yeah, a match which I followed quite closely would be Magnus and Fabi match in 2018. I think that was really high quality games, and the games were really fighting as well. Yeah, I'd say that. But there are also many interesting matches from past, but this is the one that comes to my mind right now.
Yeah, for sure, it's Spassky versus Fischer, without a doubt. It was the most popular in the history, and there were many movies about it. So, yeah, it's everything that comes with it, all the political specs. And I think the fact that Fischer showed how stronger he was than Spassky, he didn't come even one of the games. So, and he still won in a very convincing way. So this was the most impressive.
There were a few ones, and I would say, like in general, as to be some of the Kasparov-Karpov matches, like some were very iconic, and it was all over a span of 6 years, I think, and like, of course, there was a match that never ended. First of all, the 48 games match, where Karpov was leading 5-0 and came down to 5-3, and then they interrupted after I don't know, 6 months of play or something. And I think it was Sevilla where Kasparov had to win the last game with White to equalize the match and retain his title, and he managed that in a long, grueling game.
Well, I like those old classical matches between Capablanca and Tarrasch, for example. Also, of course, the Bobby Fischer matches in 1972. And Kasparov versus Karpov matches, especially the first one. It's filled with a lot of drama. And they played 5 World Championship matches. So it's just insane between the same 2 players. I also very much look forward to the upcoming Ding versus Gukesh World Championship match.
I think, one of these, Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov matches, I think it's quite amazing. I mean, looking back, I'm quite, astonished how they managed to stay under control for so many months, so many years, and I think unimaginable nowadays to just play straight out 3 months to play just chess. Nowadays you can't imagine that, But yeah, they did it, and all matches were quite amazing, and I really liked those matches.
The ones that I was following when I was already a chess player, of course. A very famous one is Fischer Spassky, but I wasn't around, and I could only read about it, and pretty much the same for Karpov Kasparov. So, and most of Kasparov's matches I wasn't really able to follow. But from the modern ones, I would probably pick the Kramnik Anand. I remember following closely and enjoying it quite a lot. It was quite exciting, and the games were fun, and yeah, that one.
I'm a bit biased towards more modern matches. Like, I would say from a historical point of view, for sure, Bobby Fischer against Boris Spassky in 1972. The first time that an American player became world champion, unless you count Steinitz, in which case, yeah, he even had the first world champion, but an American-born player, Bobby Fischer. And from a political point of view, because it was like the United States against the Soviet Union in some ways as well, there was also a lot of intrigue there. And also because he was such an interesting figure, personally, and he forfeited a game, and he lost the first game in such a bizarre way, that it has all these different elements. And of course, some of the games were incredibly rich and complex. but he also dominated near the end, so it lost that intrigue from that point of view. If we're talking about other matches, like, of course, very historically important is how Kasparov lost to Kramnik. After dominating the chess world for 15 years, to lose to anyone is already so significant. But like the one that I watched live, because I didn't see these matches, of course, from when they were happening live. I was too young for Kasparov-Kramnik, and I wasn't around for Fischer or Spassky. But the one I followed very much live was the 2006 match between Kramnik and Topalov. Not only from a chess point of view, but also because of all the surrounding events, the famous toilet gate, and so on, which I think made a lot of international news. But the chess aspect was very interesting to me, and I followed the first games with like enormous interest, as I was still very young, I was still a child. But I remember watching that very closely.
Coming up next in the Chess World 2024 are the US Championships, featuring the best men and women in America. As chess continues to grow, the caliber of players in our national championships are now some of the best in the world. American chess is expanding, and you are part of it. From all of us here at Today in Chess, we thank you for watching. See you next time.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Any reproduction or distribution of this content without the express written consent of the St. Louis Chess Club is prohibited.